accomplishments after the project. And again, this is Catch the Hatch, and we are the Lefthand Watershed Center, and we're so thrilled to have you all. A quick overview of the training. We'll be talking just overview of the project itself, its relevance to science, so the real meat of the project, really give some substance to why we're bothering with this effort. And then some valuable project logistics to make sure that you all are successful to kind of do this project independently, but also understand that we are here to support each and every one of you along the way. Just a quick email or call even away. There is a volunteer manual. I emailed it out, but it can be found on the project website page. That's a great resource, the website page, for any kind of information or tools you're looking for. You can find the manual there, but this presentation follows along the manual and references pages if you're ever interested in reading that text in more detail. So the overview of the project, I think it's important for us to acknowledge sort of our expectations. So not only things that we expect of volunteers participating, but also what a volunteer can expect from our staff throughout the project period and after. For you all as volunteers, we expect that you do participate and sign up for the project and observation days. So the project timeline is June 15th to July 15th, which coincides with a biological period of the peak emergence of a certain mayfly species, the pale morning dun. And during that time period, we hope that collectively all our volunteers are helping fill in observation days. So each day, the goal is each day somebody, one of us, is out at each site making an observation for emergence of the mayfly species. For you yourself, if that's once a week, that would be awesome. So it's probably a 4-week long period. So if you can get out to one of the sites once a week, that would be great. And I also think it's important for kind of repetition. So, if you get out once, it sort of starts to make sense, but then the next time and the time after that you go, it sort of feels more familiar and you can really understand exactly what you're doing. So I think it's nice to be able to participate a few times and get involved that way. The next piece of that is following the protocols. Scientifically speaking, the Catch the Hatch protocol in the field is pretty lenient. We're intending that the project or the observations are at your leisure. We fully intend that you might be fishing or just recreating on the creek, stomping around, checking things out. But while you're doing that, taking a closer look and observing for the emergence activity and collecting some data for us. The other part of that is, we are 30 different individuals participating. So if we're collecting data that's similar, it was collected similarly by the same protocol, we can sort of ensure some quality assurance of that data, that my data is the same as Grace's, is the same as Sarah's, and we can compare that data, even though it was collected by different people. And then the last is to maintain and return your project gear. You'll be receiving some insect nets and some other tools in your project gear kits. And these are actually kind of a prized possession. They're not cheap. So we hope that, while you're participating, just take care of the equipment for us, get it back to us at the end of the project. We'll make sure there's plenty of opportunity to do that. And we also encourage you to use the gear, if you want to go on a hike and collect butterflies and look at bees or whatever, use the insect net. We fully encourage you to use it. It's a cool tool during the project period, but just take good care. And then again, the project runs from June 15th to July 15th, and we're going to get into more details about the pale morning dun and why it's occurring at this time. All right, so relevance to science. Um, Many of you might be aware of mayflies in our creeks. They are known as aquatic invertebrates. They have two different, um, I guess, areas where they occupy during their life cycle. They live in the streams in the creek itself for half of it, and then they emerge and they are terrestrial for the second half as adults. And they're also really clear indicators of watershed conditions. When they're living in the creek, they're really dependent, their life is dependent on creek conditions. They like fast flowing, oxygenated, cool water. They're sensitive to pollutants. So if they exist in your creeks, that means you've got some good water quality. If they don't exist, you might not have good water quality. So they're really good indicators that way. And as in this life cycle shown here, we sort of walk through a couple of the different life stages. So as eggs, the mayflies, which are actually an order of insects. So there's many, many different species, but we will be specifically focusing on one, the pale morning dun. But collectively, the mayflies will attach their eggs to substrate in these fast-flowing streams. When they hatch, they become larvae or nymphs. The nymphs are clung to the substrate again in the stream. They love the fast-flowing water. Every life stage is really designed for our mountain streams and with the fast-flowing and canyon morphology. And a fun fact about nymphs is that they live in our streams for up to multiple years. So their presence in our streams is pretty consistent because they're living there for a longer time. And because of this consistency, it's easy to use to study the nymph stage as indicators of water quality. So the Watershed Center, the county, city of Boulder, I'm sure Aurora Water potentially looks at these invertebrates as indicators of water quality, and it's very well studied. But what isn't very well studied is this emergence into the adult stage, the subimago and the imago, or subadult and the fully reproductive adult. And the emergence is the transition from the nymph to the adult stage when there are creek temperatures and flows that sort of trigger the nymphs to emerge, which generally occurs on the descending limb of the hydrograph. So just after our peak flows, as our flows are receding, temperatures are increasing, flows are decreasing, and this is the time in that June 15th to July 15th period when the mayfly, the pale morning dun specifically, will be triggered to emerge. And the adult stage is critical for reproduction, dispersal of the population of insects. So in the creeks, the nymphs are bound to the substrate. They can't swim away from disturbances like a fish could. But when they emerge and they become airborne, they can travel, they can escape, potential poor impacts to water quality, and obviously carry on the population into the next generation. And this all happens in a matter of 24 hours. It's a critical stage. And it's really hard to capture. It takes time to commit for one, a scientist or an individual to observe during the month-long window of emergence. So this project aims to use volunteers, kind of a larger group of people, to tackle this question, to divide and conquer, to get out to the sites, make the observations, and and record that data. And so this is filling in sort of a gap in science, and our aim is to track the emergence during this month window over time. So for the past 2 years, we've collected data on, do we see them emerging each day or do we not, as well as temperature and creek flow, and we can monitor that over time. as conditions change from year to year. So we face slow snow years, we have early or late runoff, and we're curious, how does that impact this critical life stage or stages of the mayfly? A couple other things about mayflies and the pale morning dun. You know, we know that they have these critical life stages in water and on land. They're indicators of watershed conditions and how those conditions impact their life cycle. But they're also, we know they exist here. So there's been data collection efforts. Again, the nymph stage, the larval stage, there's a lot of information on where we see them in the stream. And so these blue dots kind of show well-known sites. We have Boulder Creek, Lefthand, and North St. Vrain, where they've been seen before. And they occupy what's known as the transition zone. So we have our turbulent mountainous streams coming from the continental divide. And then they transition sort of near the city of Boulder, town of Lyons, in these areas into high plain streams. So there's a lot of energy and dynamic stream characteristics coming down from our mountains. And then they transition here. And that's exactly where these insects like to live. So we want to know how are the insects, how do they exist over time? How are they emerging? What are trends in their life cycle as we have different snowpack conditions that drive our creeks? And so I won't belabor too heavily, but we do have some specific research questions related to this project. You know, some of them are based on, can the community do it? For the past 2 years, we've had great success with our community collecting data and identifying them. We have a number of samples. I was just going through them from last year. We have so many correctly identified samples from volunteers. It's pretty incredible. People that aren't experts, you know, just able to help, you know, identify these. So I encourage you all to give it a try and not be afraid, even though you're trying to find these small little insects. And then we have sort of our longer term questions. You know, how does the presence of PMDs, the pale morning dun mayfly, change during their emergence period, June 15th, which is shown here. This is sort of our results page, to July 15th. So we have our 2019 data, we have Boulder Creek, Lefthand, North St. Vrain. Just a little fact here, in 2019, we had a delayed runoff and the majority of our sightings were pushed towards the later end of that peak emergence window, likely because the cues, the temperature and flows, were delayed. Last year, we had pretty typical runoff. And we saw different emergence or presence of the adults throughout that period. So it's very interesting to follow along. If you're an angler, we hope you can use these data sort of as your own back pocket hatch chart. You know, we correlate our observations with average temperatures each year, creek temps, and flows. So a lot of, as you might know, anglers are interested in, you know, what's the temperature of the creek and what should I be fishing during that time. So we hope that it's useful for you and also, you know, answer these long-term questions as conditions change about the peak emergence window of the pale morning dun. All right, now comes time for the logistics part. So I will give a quick stop there. Does anybody have any questions on the relevance to science piece or sort of the meat of the project? All righty. When it comes to signing up, I think the best way to look at this is by going directly to the website. You've all probably seen this because you signed up for your training, but basically from the Lefthand Watershed Center page, you go to our work, engaging community, and boom, a direct link from the homepage to the project page. we have our little intro here and then our 3-step process. So you've already signed up for your training. That's great. I encourage you all after this training to sign up for gear pickup if you have not already. We're going to do contactless gear pickup at 3 locations in Boulder, Longmont, and Lyons. Hopefully you'll be able to pick up your gear between this Thursday, so tomorrow through Saturday. And you can do that by signing up on a little Google form here. If you can't make those dates or those spots, just email me directly and we'll come up with a different option for you. But when it comes to signing up, so the 3rd step of the project for your observations, we have again our 3 locations. If you're not sure how to get to these locations, you can go to our website, this website page, you click on the location and you can click directions and it will direct you to a Google map. But basically our 3 sites again are the Button Rock Preserve on the North St. Vrain. It's basically the entire stretch of creek along the parking lot of the preserve. So really no specific point in the creek where you should observe, but you can kind of walk the stretch of creek along the parking lot. Our next site is the Buckingham Park on Lefthand Creek. Just up Lefthand Canyon Drive. And again, there's a nice parking space at Buckingham Park, and it's basically the stretch of creek that is accessible to that parking lot within the park limits. The final site is Boulder Creek at Memorial Park. This site is just upstream a few miles from the Even G. Fine Park. And actually you drive under the tunnel and then it's your first left. It's a large pull-off. Again, anywhere that's accessible from the Memorial Park pull-off. And this year we are blessed with the end of construction. So that's been a challenge in the past few years to get people up there, just to guarantee your time, but hopefully you won't run into those issues getting up there this year. To sign up, you can use, again, the step 3, Catch the Hatch site locations. From this page, you can sign up for each creek location. When you click the location button, it'll send you directly over to our sign-in page or our sign-up form. I already have an account, but you'll be prompted to just sign up. And with that account, you can sign up for as many locations as you would like, or observation days. So when I clicked that button, it sent me to Boulder Creek, and I have the entire calendar of June 15th through July 15th listed here. I'd encourage you sort of to check out your schedule and have some dates in mind. And when you scroll to them, you'll be able to see how many people are signed up for that day. And then you're able to sign up here where you can just basically, you'll fill in your name and it'll load that you're headed out that day. Anybody can sort of see who's going, if there's anybody signed up. We encourage you, if you do sign up and there is somebody on the date you were planning on, to try, if you can go another day, try and go another day just to spread our effort around. Remember, we're trying to have somebody on the site each day. But if you can't, it's great to have multiple people go out the same day too. So if you wanted to go June 20th at Boulder Creek and there's a person signed up already, please feel free to sign up and there'll be a couple people. We'd encourage you going rather than not going. So please do. And like I mentioned, you can sign up for as many days. If you wanted to sign up for 4 days in a row, you could do that all from this page at Boulder Creek. But if you wanted to switch over to signing up for Buckingham or Button Rock, you'd have to go back to the project page And when you click that, it'll send you to the same sign up for the different creeks. And that's how sign up works. And as Sarah mentioned, we'll be reaching out weekly to sort of give an update on what dates we might need folks to head out that week. So feel free to stay tuned for that outreach if you're looking for somebody to, guide some days that we might need your help. The last thing I wanted to point out here is the project materials tab or sidebar, which is a great resource. So we have our manual. We've posted updated training slides if you have anything you want to reference from this presentation. We have our self-guided training video, which is what we're recording right now, but we will load that up here if you're looking for any recap on any of the details. And then we've broken apart different components of the manual into select topics. So if you just want to know the field protocol or get a data sheet, if you ran out, the ID guide, some other information that might be helpful, and then data entry will also, you'll need to access that, and we'll go over how to enter data. Alrighty, so that's basically the overview of signing up for observations. And now we can jump into what you'll be doing when you make an observation. So again, you'll have to pick up your gear this year. We have those 3 locations in Boulder, Longmont, and Lyons, and you can sign up for that on the project page, or I also shot everybody an email if you want to reference that. I directly linked it.
I'm sorry,
yes.
Quick question about that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I'm being dense, but I have not seen on any of the sign up for gear pickup materials anything about time.
Yeah, so we're going to leave the gear out. So the locations are staff homes, so we'll just leave them out for you. You'll basically grab a bag, a gear kit, and they have a number on it. You'll just sign that out, and you're good to go. Yep.
Okay. Absolutely. That makes sense. Thank you.
Yep. So yeah, they'll be in little bags, and you'll just be signing them out by their number. And in each gear kit, you'll just want to make sure that you have all the components. So we will provide you with an ID guide. It's laminated. You can bring it with you into the fields. This helps identify the pale morning dun. There are some key features that we'll talk about in a few moments here, different images of what they look like. And then we have on the back side lookalikes. So we have a few other species of mayfly that look similar, but when it gets down to it, they have different features. So this will be nice to help identify the different species if you end up catching one. We have the 3-piece collapsible net. So we have the head and 2 arms. With each net, there's an instructions on how to disassemble and assemble the net, which can be a little challenging, so I'll just go through it quickly here. With the head of the net, it has a steel frame, so if you just sort of loosely pull it, it pops right open. The net then connects to its arms through different, through a couple button joints, I guess you'd call them. And basically you have about 3.5 feet of length for your net. This is the delicate part of the net. It's a very fine mesh, so please just be cautious if you're walking around with this to not drag it on the ground or anything that might catch. You can always just kind of keep it tucked together if you're walking around. But this will be your net to use if you see things emerging and you want to collect them and try and identify them. We also have pre-filled sample vials that are filled with 75% ethanol. These are used to preserve specimens. So part of this project is quality assurance and quality check or control. So if you do identify the pale morning dun emerging, or you want to know how to ID some other species, and you can collect it, you'll preserve it, and then you will record basically the time, date, location, and your name, location being one of the 3 sites, and you will put the label into your vial. But you should have 3 of these when you pick up your gear kit. If you need more throughout the project, please reach out to us and we'll get you more. We have a thermometer for everybody, hopefully easy to find, being brightly colored, and you'll take a creek temperature every time you go up observe, which is also very valuable data. If you see no insects, you're still collecting meaningful information. And we'll also put in data sheets for you. So we've printed out your first 6, so if you get to more than 6, you can always go to the project page and print out more. So feel free to do that. We're not printing the manual this year. We're going to keep it online. So you won't have any particular protocols in your kits, but you can access that all on the project page. Preparing for an observation. So this is really the field protocol. So again, you can go out anytime during the day when you sign up for that particular day. And we encourage you to sign up ahead of time, just so that we are aware of those that are, sorry, I have a chat here. I just want to make sure what time frame. What is the time frame that observation should occur? Okay, cool. We're getting to that question right now. So you can go out anytime, but we do sort of guide some priority time frames. We fully understand that you might not be able to go out during the middle of the day, but if you can, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. is sort of the emergence window or common emergence window for the pale morning dun. So that's where you will see the insects actually flying up from the creek surface. The characteristics of the pale morning dun during that period are a little bit more easily identifiable. They're that bright, or they're a pale yellow appearance, as shown in this picture here. And they have darker gray wings. So that's sort of our top tier observation time. But if you can't head out during that time, by all means, head out sometime in the afternoon or evening. You might still see subadults emerging after 2 p.m., but you also might want to consider looking at substrate or vegetation along the bank. So when a mayfly is emerging from the creek, their main goal is to fly upward and find some piece of vegetation or substrate where they can do their final molt into the adult form. So they might be hanging on to something hanging around. You might also see them swarming above the water. So when they are in their full adult stage, that's when they're reproducing. So they might be flying around, and they are characteristically darker red in appearance with clear wings, but we'll talk a little bit more about ID in a second here. And so basically anytime, but if you have if you have the opportunity to choose, I'd encourage you to head out between the 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. window. All right. Go next. All right, so when you're making an observation, you've decided when you wanted to head out, your first thing will be to always use your paper data sheet first. We do have an electronic upload for all data on the citsci.org platform, but for now, we encourage you all to please use a paper data sheet when you're in the field. You will record the date. The recorder is your name, the site name, and any comments you have. Comments can be about the weather, about observations, wildlife, whatever you see, but they can also be about logistics. If you had a lot of traffic, if there was construction going on, if you had no place to park. We want to know that information so that in the future we can sort of, find good locations for the project. So any comments are welcome. You'll also record right away your arrival time. You'll record weather conditions. Believe it or not only is it water conditions like temperature and flow that cue emergence on a daily scale, but the atmospheric conditions can also play a role. So clear versus windy and overcast might impact the emergence or presence of emergence, depending on that weather. So you can circle one from the different options. And then you'll take a creek temperature and a site photo. The reason we just have you do that right off the bat is so that you can kind of put that stuff away and head out and recreate, whether you're fishing, walking around, or relaxing and observing while you're doing so. So you might want to carry along, your net in its collapsed form if you want, in your waders or a backpack or something, and just observe and see what you can find. If you do end up, I think I have one more showing of what we can look for when we're out there. But the last piece about your observation is basically trying to commit 30 minutes or more for your observation. So that can be up to 5 hours if you want, but at least 30 minutes out there. And when you leave, you'll record your departure time so that we can sort of collect that time, effort that you were out there information. Okay, so observing for pale morning duns or emergence, we have a couple examples here. So this is actually these photos are from the Buckingham site. I'm looking downstream in this left-hand photo. The parking area is kind of around the river bend here. And then I walked up around the river bend. It's a great little spot, so I'd encourage you to check it out if you're at Buckingham Park. It's the upstream end of the park. And things that you should be kind of making your observations in the water are near slack water associated with riffles. So riffles are sort of fast flowing sections. They're relatively shallow. They have turbulent, maybe some babbling surface where water is breaking along the rocks. And remember that the nymphs of the pale morning duns are clung to the rocks. And when they emerge, they're releasing from those rocks, they're floating down the water column, and then they're emerging from the surface. So some good places to really see them are near slack water. So this boulder here is a good spot. You have some nice slack water around it. So I might post up downstream of that and check out what I can see. It's also just more smooth surface flow. So you might be able to see more detail rather than trying to see a small insect emerging from something turbulent like the riffle. Here's just a quick couple of videos. So again, here's the riffle we have where you'd expect the nymphs to be. And then we have this upstream pool, so a really turbulent section. So a couple of spots you could post up are in these slack water areas along the banks. Again, I mentioned near that boulder might be a good place to observe. Or just basically along the vegetation line where you might see them clung up to a different vegetation along the creek. Here's another view, and this day I did see them emerging, but I'm looking upstream at the pool. And again, there's some nice slack water on the side here, and that's where you might see something emerging. You have a nice backdrop of the boulder here to be able to see, a flash from the insect with some sunlight on it or something like that. So yeah, the slack water is a good place to start if you're really not exactly sure what you're looking for. And I will say I've been there before of not really sure what I was looking for, and that is a good place to start. And once you sort of start, you're seeing them, you kind of understand a little bit more of what you're looking for. Okay, so if you're out there and you're concluding your observation and you did not see a pale morning dawn or emergence, that is awesome data. You collected temperature data, you collected some weather information. That's all important for this study, and we want to know just as much when they're emerging, when they're not emerging. So if you don't catch one, you don't see anything, you're frustrated, you still did a great job, and you participated. If you did see one, that's exciting. This is a good center photo here example of what they look like when they're swarming. One of our volunteers in 2019 took this photo. You can kind of see the lightness of their bodies reflecting the sun. That's great. Record the time when you see it. Try to capture. You probably will not capture the first one you see, but they're usually emerging in quantity. So if you don't have your net set up, but you see something, take your time, set it up, and watch and wait and see if you can find or observe and see another one come up and try and catch it. If you can catch it, you are going to try and put it in a vial. If you want, when you initially catch it, let's say you have it in your net and it's kind of clung to the top end of it, a tool I use is I try and catch it, and then I will sort of create a little loop for it to capture it, but I'll also sort of encourage it to fly up into my net. And if you can sort of get it to the top, that's great. Again, you could create a pocket for it, just some way to kind of handle it without, damaging its wings or its features. If you want, you can always kind of position your pocket and try and take a photo of it in your net. If you don't want to bother with that, you can go ahead and put it in a storage vial. Something I do once I have it in a pocket is I'll undo my storage vial. I might dab my finger in either some of the ethanol, which the 75% ethanol is not going to be toxic to you in that small quantity, but you'd want to keep these vials away from children or pets or anything, and kind of in a cool, safe space. But you could dip your finger either into the ethanol or some water from the creek. Use your finger, it has a little moisture on it. You can stick your finger into your holding pocket, try and match it up with the wing or something of the insect. That way it's sort of stuck to your finger. And then you can safely and delicately get it into your vial just by connecting your touch to the liquid, and it'll drop in. You'll want to make sure that you label it. Again, you'll have your name, the date, time, and the site name. And you want to put these directly into your vial. It's just a nice way to be able to store and hold everything all in one piece, but especially if you use pencil when you're recording, the lead won't rub away in the ethanol, and it'll preserve nicely. If you can't collect one, but you're pretty sure you see them emerging, that's a great, record that as you saw them emerging. Maybe make a note that, I couldn't capture it, but that's fine. You still, if you think you see them, you please mark you saw it and what time you saw it, and if you can catch it, that's even better. And the taking a photo part, like I mentioned, it could either be in the net or just taking a photo of the insect after it's in your vial, shown here in the bottom left picture. Again, departure, record the time you depart and any comments you have. And again, all of these prompts for what you need to be recording are on your data sheet. So it's pretty well laid out and easy to follow. All right, just quickly for the pale morning dun identification, we have a couple of distinct features. The pale morning dun is about 1/3 to 1/4 of an inch, so they are small. That's probably the length of my pinky fingernail here. But you can see them like this photo shows here. They're pretty distinct when they're coming off the surface, especially if they're reflecting some kind of light. They have that yellow to reddish appearance. But the key thing, if you are able to catch one and preserve it or have it in an accessible space to look at more closely, are the 3 elongated tails. 3 elongated tails are a distinct feature of the pale morning dun, both males shown here with the big orange eyes, or females, which have smaller eyes. The males have large eyes because they're trying to sight their potential mates. So that's why they have their big eyes. Again, the subadults have these gray wings versus the adult males, or male or female, which has clear wings and it's a little darker in color. The females are a little yellowish to green, but they all sort of carry that yellowish red characteristic, but the 3 tails are the giveaway, and the body is not brown like some of the lookalikes. So the 3 different lookalikes we have the blue-winged olive, the red quill, and the green drake. The blue-winged olive and the red quill only have 2 tails, 2 elongated tails, so that's definitely a giveaway for you. The blue-winged olive is grayish blue in color. The red quill is, it's greenish red, brown, reddish brown. The green drake is brown. So they all have darker appearances. And again, the 2 tails for the red quill and blue-winged olive. The green drake, however, does have 3 tails, but as you can see in this bottom picture here, they're stout. They're not long. They're kind of like little tanks, basically. So easy enough to be able to distinguish them just because they're darker and they have these short little tails versus, again, the pale morning dun that's this reddish yellowish color with 3 long tails. So I hope you get the chance to be able to catch them, even if they're not pale morning duns, to be able to look at them and identify them, and please capture them and send them to us if you want to know. Okay, we've got a couple more things to cover on project registration and data uploads. For project registration, which is something some of you might have not done yet, citsci.org is the second website to keep in mind. We do have it linked on our project page if you can't find it. That's what houses all our data. So you recorded data on a data sheet with a pencil, but now when you're ready to upload it to the project, which we encourage you to do within a couple days of your observation, preferably the same day, just so you don't forget and we don't come hounding for you to upload your data later. You're going to log on to citsci.org and you will have an account with citsci.org. If you are a new volunteer, this is an important update for you all. citsci.org this year is going through a relaunch. They're revamping their website, and that's occurring later this week. So if you were to create an account now, you could, but it will be the old version of the site. And the only thing you'll have to do is update your password after the revamp. You'll be prompted to do that. So if you don't want to create an account with your favorite password and then have to create a new password in a few days, I'd encourage new volunteers to just wait till after June 13th or before your first observation to create your account on citsci.org. If you are a past volunteer and you already have an account on citsci.org, just know that you will be prompted the next time you log in after this relaunch on the 13th to create a new password, but all your information and the projects you're a part of will be saved. Just for reference, citsci.org houses hundreds of different community science projects, so we're just one of them. But when you do sign up, you will also want to join the Catch the Hatch project. So you'll sign up, create your account, then you'll search for the Catch the Hatch project, you'll ask to join, and then myself or Sarah, the project managers, will admit you into the project so you can participate. Do we have a question there? Okay. All right, so joining the project is pretty quick, but you will need to be confirmed by us, so we'll be on top of that. But it might take a lag. If you're trying to enter data right away, you'll just know that you'll have to wait till we confirm you. Data entry. Always record on your paper data sheet and take photos on your phone or camera in the field. And when you upload, we are going to recommend this year to use citsci.org only. We are creating an app that is in its testing phases right now, which directly uploads. You could basically do your observation live, but we have a little bit of troubleshooting to do there. So we're encouraging everybody this year to do it through the website citsci.org, where you'll upload your data and your photos. And you can always view all project data and edit your data on citsci.org. So that's a fun interactive part about it. As people are uploading, you'll have observations coming in. So far, we have 55 people that have participated, 151 observations at our 3 locations, and over 1,000 different measurements, which is cool. So when you log in, you're in the project, you'll go add data here in the drop down, and you'll basically upload all your information that is listed on your paper data sheet. So your date, you as the observer, the location name, and so forth. And I'm going to skip over this My Watershed. We do have some information on it if you ever want to give it a try, but as I mentioned, we encourage you all to just do it on the citsci.org platform. And so when you're ready to look at your data, you can always log into the citsci.org platform and look at your observations. And this is basically how it'll look. You'll have your date recorded, your name, the location, the different projects, and you'll have your answers here, which you will add. So, what time did you leave? Did you store a sample? What was the temperature, weather conditions, your arrival time, and you'll also upload your photos here. I am happy to answer any more questions about that, but that is the majority of the overview. So just a couple quick next steps for you all is to make sure you sign up for your gear pickup. So let me know if you have any issues with that. Again, it's going to be tomorrow, Thursday, the 10th through the 12th, Saturday. Gear will be outside. The addresses listed in Boulder, Lyons, or Longmont through the entirety of that day. So please come at your leisure when you're able to, and you'll just sign it out on a sign out sheet. Make sure you register and join on citsci.org, but please keep in mind that that relaunch is happening until the 13th. So maybe mark your calendar for the 14th to sign up and join the project. We will confirm you, and then you'll sign up for your observations on the project page. And again, use your data sheet for recording, then log into citsci.org to upload all that information, including your photos taken on your phone. You'll be always taking a site photo when you arrive. I don't think I said that. When you're taking your temperature, take a site photo, and then a photo of anything else interesting, what you caught, other things going on. You can upload as many photos as you want for each observation. And that is a wrap. So I open it up to any questions anybody has. And please feel free, if you've got to get going, you're free to go.
Thank you very much.
I have a question about the sample vials.
Yes.
Insects in there. I'm optimistic. What if we get like a swarm and we're able to score a bunch of them? Do we put all of them in one vial, or do we put them in one vial at a time? I mean,
Yeah, we start off with 3, and if you want to try and maximize one vial, I would say store, people have stored up to 4 or 5 different individuals in one vial. It might be easiest to do like per site visit, so like on one date you collect everything. If you have a swarm, I would say just take a few from, or 1 or 2 from that swarm, and not preserve every single one of them. We really just want to make sure that we're trying to basically cross-check the validity of your observation if possible. So if you saw a swarm and you take a representative specimen and you confirm, yep, it's a pale morning dun, then that's what we need. That's all we need from that preservation.
cool. No problem.
Great. Any other questions? Well, I appreciate you all. I'm really looking forward to it. And please, we're here for you if you have any questions or need help with anything. It's our job to be on top of the game during this period, to be assistance. So yeah, make sure you sign up to get your gear. Sign up for sitsci.org after the 13th. Sign up for the project on sitsci.org. We will confirm you, and then sign up for observations, and we will keep you updated on the need we have for help along the way.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for coming. You all have a great rest of your evening.
Likewise. Be well.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.